We go on to our next speaker, Dr. Kishore Pahuja, who is the director of Niramaya Hospital and chief of Opthal department. He's going to teach us some more learning, something quite interesting too. On to you, doctor. Can you start? Unmute. You're muted, Dr. Kishore. Can you unmute yourself? Dr. Kishore, you have to unmute yourself. Dr. Sunil, Mr. Sunil, can you unmute? Yes.
Please, that's just it.
Yeah, I mean, is my screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay, so I believe that probably poster capsule is my friend. Thanks, Dr. Chitra, for making me part of your wonderful session. PCO is the most common complication of an cataract surgery, and incidence is known to be almost about 36 to 97% of patients in about 2 to 4 years of an cataract surgery. And we all know the risk factors such as age, diabetes, uveitis, trauma. So what are the modifiable surgical factors that we have is an CCC, heterodissection, what we call as a cortical cleavage heterodissection, and of course, IOL factors and a posterior capsule polishing. So what I'm going to talk today is basically as a posterior capsule polishing. So I'll just share my video. Yeah, I mean, this is my way of doing an cataract. So I do an capsular marking. I mean, for an capsular access for all my patients. So this is just a show like this. So this is my case that I'm just present is that it is a white matte cataract where you can't see anything. To have because it's an entomycin, so what I do is I just make one port within a 26 gauge needle, go and aspirate the whole of a fluid that is there just to reduce the intralenticular pressure. And once you do that, and after that, it becomes very easy to do on a capsular access. This is how you go within a capsular access. You can go within a capsule, you can go within a forceps. This is within the left hand, I'm just pulling within a forceps. Then you can change your hands and do within a right hand. So whatever, but then the advantage of a marking is that where you have I mean, you have a circular capsular axis, and also it guide you that you are not going away and the decentered with that. This is how you just do an heterodissection. Just go lift the capsule and go that, then it becomes a simple cataract that you do it. What's more important that I'm just going to talk today is the once you remove a cataract, then you see some little white plaque over there. So then you think of it whether it can just go with only within a hydrojet pressure, which you can do that and then clean it off, which usually in most of the cases it happens. So here you see that it's there, and I'm just trying to do within a bimanual aspiration. You go within a low vacuum and remove everything which is just in the periphery, but then try to clean it everywhere, but still I feel that I was not able to remove it. So what I did is push on a visco, increase in a magnification, and then hold that within a micro forceps. This is, I mean, you learn from my retina colleagues that, I mean, how you do an ILM peel. So you hold that forceps, I mean, hold that capsule within a forceps and then just pull it off. It just goes like on a capsular axis. So this is within a right part of it, and this is within a left part of it. Hold it, and then you just pull it all this, and then this is how you I mean, because today we are talking about in a premium oil practice, you're doing in a toric multifocals and all that, so you want to reduce the poster capsular opacification in an immediate post-op period. And you see that even in the thin capsules, thin plaques that you have it, you just hold it, pull it off, and it just comes very easily. This is here, you just keep on pulling it, and then it's just like you feel that you're doing in a capsular axis, but mind is just only the plaque which is just coming off from there. And then your central part becomes very clear, and then you can do that. And sometimes it's when you do an practice, so what you do is you have a sandblasted IA. So with that, what I do is I just probably do a capsular polishing. So and with that, a lot of things goes out. I mean, if if you feel that still there is some thin plaques which are going to go. This wasn't a problem in a multifocal patient that I wanted to do it, and I didn't want to have a central piece into that. So I just remove that with that. And also then you go within a sandblasted cannula and then just polish that polish that capsule. So I always believe that if you respect the poster capsule, I mean, it always becomes your friend. Thank you very much, and I'm just here for the questions now.
Thank you, Dr. Pahuja. That was nice videos which you saw. But I suppose just for the audience, like you take your bevel in when you're aspirating fluid, we should tell that the bevel should be down, because the bevel is up, it can inadvertently catch the capsule. I have a question for Dr. Ramamurthy and one question for Mahipal. Dr. Ramamurthy, when are the cases when you would ask for an anterior lens capsule polishing? And to Mahipal, when would you avoid a posterior capsular polishing?
You should have told me before about this.
Of course, I mean the posterior polar cataracts or an posterior dehiscence is the contraindication for an polishing. But otherwise, I mean, if you feel, I mean, there's the plaques that you see it's always better to do an polishing, or you can just remove that plaques.
I think to answer Chetra's question about anterior rim polishing, I don't think it in any way contributes to preventing PCO. But in cases of pediatric cataracts, in cases of pseudo exfoliation, subluxated lenses, and in case you end up with a smaller rhexis because of other reasons that you're not able to enlarge it, it's a good idea to polish the remove the capsule to lessen the chances of capsular phimosis. In these situations, I will actually nick the edges of the capsule so that, I mean, the chance of the capsular phimosis is reduced. And beautiful videos, Dr. Pahuja just showed that in these plaques, there's always a plane of cleavage which you can identify and take off. Just to a point for the audience is that, you know, please remember that PCO occurs because of the metaplasia and migration of the equatorial cells. It's never because of a plaque which is paracentral. So just because Dr. Pahuja showed you so beautifully within his hands, if there is a paracentral plaque and in case it's not coming off easily, don't go ahead and try to take it off and break the capsule, because it may not harm the patient in any way at all. So unless it's in the visual axis, maybe it's not necessary to deal with these cases. And if you're not confident enough, a YAG laser can always be done a little later. But if you're capable of doing
this is the whole of the idea is because they both, I mean, if you see they were in a central, and second idea to remove that is because actually you have a gap in between the capsule and the poster capsule and the lens. So when there is more of an space or some occupying, then the migration becomes much faster, and then you get more of an poster capsular opacification. So whatever you can remove is always better, and whatever you can't remove it, if there's a risk, it's always better to leave it.
Dr. Mahipal, would you have anything to add?
I think part of your question about the posterior capsule was answered by Dr. Pahuja and part by Dr. Ram. So I'll just to re-emphasize, whenever you are suspecting some kind of weakness in the posterior capsule, that's the time that you need to avoid.
Not able to hear you, Mahipal.
Not able to hear you.
Sorry, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so whenever you are suspecting any form of posterior capsular weakness, like whether it be a posterior polar or there is some doubtful history of trauma or something like that, where you can disturb the vitreous, it is better not to try any heroics. In case you have a extensively fused kind of a posterior plaque, which separation plane cannot be done under those circumstances where you can cause a rent. Under those circumstances, it's better to go back and do a YAG capsulotomy at that particular time. So the importance is to assess the integrity and the whether there is any weakness in the posterior capsule. That's when I'm going to not do a posterior capsular polishing. Apart from
you continue. Sorry.
Apart from that, what Ram said, I agree with that completely, that it's the lens equatorial cells which kind of come forward and cause the this thing. It's not really, so it's the fibrillar material, the posterior plaques or anything that's sticking onto the posterior capsule, that's what needs to be taken out. Apart from that, there is nothing much that you have any posterior epithelial cells on the posterior capsule that need to be taken out. So just...
No, I had a doubt whether in a silicone oil filled eyes, they have a tendency for a PC plaque to happen in these eyes. Would you go ahead and do a PC polishing in these eyes, because these posterior capsules could be thinner? There could have been an lens touch.
No.
They don't normally have thin capsules. They are parchment-like capsules, which are very difficult to do that. And normally, whenever there is a silicone-filled eye, we normally would take out the posterior, the oil from
Oil,
this,
and then
by doing a primary posterior or a posterior approach. So it's
yes.
very, very unlikely that you are going to do a cataract with silicone oil still being in the eye. So either the retina surgeon has removed it before, or we do it as a simple setting by doing a primary posterior capsule.
Yeah, because it becomes very difficult. The oil bulges so up, and then it becomes difficult to do a cataract surgery.
Oil keeps on coming from the side,
from
the zonules that it keeps on coming. So it's unlikely that we will be doing a case without removing this thing.
Can I add one point?
Yes.
No, the beautiful videos, Kishore. I just want, because this plaquectomy is what I describe this technique, wherein you go bimanual, just like you remove a ERM from the retina, similar from the macula. So the bimanually, you just hold the plaque at the base of the plaque with a small, with a micro forceps or something like that, and then remove it with the capsulorhexis forceps. So it works wonderfully well, because what happens is when you do bimanual, you create a space between the plaque and the posterior capsule. When you do unimanual, what happens is you try to pull the posterior capsule along with that. When you have bimanual, you keep that plaque on the surface of the posterior capsule, and the posterior capsule doesn't come forward. When the posterior capsule comes forward, there's a danger of the posterior capsule getting injured. So that is, I think, reason why I thought I will just mention this technique.
What about in high myopes? Is there any specific thing that you would do? Prevent formation of PCO in high myopes?
No. I mean, I'd say
polishing definitely in these eyes, I'm sure, because
you don't want
yes,
PCO.
For having a PCO.
You want to avoid a YAG.
Yeah, I mean, for any patients, you want to avoid a PCO in an immediate post-operative period, because when you do in a multifocal patients, and then your contrast is not good, so it's always better to have that. I mean, I just wait for about 3 to 6 months to do if I have to do an YAG capsulotomy.
3 to 6 months.
No, sometimes
minimum period would anyone wait?
Yeah, 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months is that, I mean, the earliest I would prefer to do in 3 months. I will not do it before 3 months, because anyway, I mean, if you do that, there is a chance of getting a cystoid macular edema also. So it's better to wait for 3 months, let everything settle down, all inflammation, mild inflammation, whatever is happening. And then after that, if you do it, it's always better.
I think it makes sense to do PC polishing in a high myope and not do it 3 months opening and all that.
No, I'm just talking about the capsulotomy in a multifocal patient, immediate post-op, whether it's myopic or an emmetropic patient.
One message I want to give, Chitra, is that if there are dense plaques, please don't leave it, because very difficult to YAG these plaques.
Yes.
You have to use very high energy, and you can have pitting of the lens, you can have problem of retina. So all these problems can occur, CME. So if you have dense plaques, try to remove it on the table.
As far as you can remove it, it's remove it. And then if you can't touch it, you have to take care of a capsule also.
And the beautiful technique shown by Kishore.
Wonderful.
One point, if you don't see a cleavage plane, then you can use a cystotome, and by not bending it more than say 30 or 40 degree, and with that you can lift it and create a cleavage plane.
Yes.
So that can also be done.
Sometimes it's necessary to make a posterior capsular excess, which encompasses the central plaque. I mean, which goes beyond the extent of the plaque. I would do it only if it's central.
It's not necessary, Ramurthy. That is, see, if you have a plaque, there is a definite plane between the plaque and the posterior capsule. You just have to put some nice cohesive viscoelastic and separate that plane there, and identify that plane and start from that, similar to what you are doing for the epiretinal membrane. I'm sure you are also a retina guy. I'm also a retina guy. Just go back 20 years back and remember your retina, that's all.
No more. There are some fibrotic plaques, and there are some plaques which are more of material there. Those can be lifted up. Sometimes the capsule itself is fibrotic. In these cases,
that's right.
So
you can't get any cleavage in that. The tip is that when you do a hydrodissection, within a hydrodissection, if you can see some cleavage into that, then you can do that. But even within a hydrojet, if you can't see any cleavage, it's better not to do that, because those are the capsule. I mean, it's a capsular. What is that? It's actually capsular thickening, not any plaque on that.
Anaga, can you introduce the next speaker?
Yes, ma'am.